When we talk about justice, we usually think about evidence, about testimony, about right and wrong. But what if the biggest hurdle to justice wasn't any of that? What if it was just a calendar? What if justice had an expiration date? I mean, think about it. If you're experiencing domestic abuse and years pass by, is there a moment when the law just says, sorry, you're out of time? It's a really tough question, and it gets to the very heart of how our legal system even begins to understand something as complex as ongoing trauma. And this isn't just a hypothetical question. For one woman, this was her reality. In 2014, a court looked at her case, at her plea for help after years of suffering, and told her that the clock had simply run out. So let's start there, with a case that for a while set a really troubling precedent. It's a story about how a legal technicality can slam the door right when someone is asking for help. Okay, so to really get this, we have to look at Judiciary Gurudev's story. She alleged that her husband had physically assaulted her and actually kicked her and their daughter out of their home. But she didn't go far. For 8 years, she lived right next door. And during that time, she described facing constant neglect and harassment. After 8 long years of this, she finally filed for protection under India's Domestic Violence Act. So in the courtroom, you had these two completely different arguments. The husband's side was pretty straightforward. He basically said, look, the main physical assault happened 8 years ago. This claim is old, it's stale, it's time-barred. The case should just be thrown out. But her argument was totally different. She was saying, yes, that happened, but the abuse never actually stopped. It just changed. It became this ongoing neglect and harassment. She wasn't just trying to settle a score from the past. She needed protection right then and there. And so the court had to make a call, and its decision was kind of shocking. The court sided with the husband. It ruled that a complaint under the Domestic Violence Act had to be filed within 1 year of the incident, not 8 years, 1. And the judge's words were just so final. The ruling didn't even get into the truth of her claims. He didn't say the abuse did or didn't happen. He just said she was out of time. Her case was quashed. That means it was completely thrown out, dismissed on a technicality without ever really being heard. For years, that 1-year rule was the law in that jurisdiction, and it created this huge roadblock for victims. But, and this is a big but, the story doesn't end there. In fact, what happened next was a complete landmark reversal. So just look at this timeline. The legal thinking did a complete 180. You have 2014, with the Gurudev Gurav case setting that 1-year limit. Then, fast forward to 2022, and in a different case, Kamachi versus Lakshmi Narayan, the Supreme Court of India says the exact opposite. They declared there is no time limit to file that first application for protection. So, how on earth did the law change so drastically? Well, the answer is in a super important legal distinction. It's a detail that the first court seems to have missed, but that the Supreme Court made crystal clear. And it's all about the difference between asking for help and reporting a crime. Okay, so here's how the Supreme Court broke it down. They said the Domestic Violence Act really has 2 different stages. Stage 1 is when you file an application for help. This is a civil matter. You're not accusing someone of a crime yet. You're just going to the court and saying, I need help. I need a protection order. I need maintenance. I need a safe place to live. The Supreme Court said for asking for help, there is absolutely no time limit. Stage 2 is what happens if the court gives you that protection order and the other person breaks it. That is a criminal offense, and that's when the 1-year clock starts ticking. And the whole foundation for this ruling is this powerful legal idea called a continuing wrong. It's the law's way of finally recognizing that domestic violence usually isn't just one single event, right? It's not a single punch that happens and then it's over. It's often a pattern of control, of neglect, of abuse that can go on for years. And what the court said is as long as that pattern, that harm continues, so does the victim's right to ask for help. The clock just doesn't run out. So this whole legal journey, from a door being slammed shut to being thrown wide open, has huge real-world consequences. So what does all this mean for people who need protection right now, today? So let's nail down the bottom line. First, and this is the most important thing, there is no deadline to file that initial application for protection. The law now officially gets that abuse is a pattern, not just one single incident. Your right to ask for safety and support doesn't just expire. And that 1-year time limit you might hear about, remember, that only kicks in if an abuser breaks a protection order after a court has already put one in place. This whole saga really shows us something important. The law isn't set in stone. It has to learn, it has to evolve. It had to learn to see domestic violence not as a series of separate events with individual expiration dates, but as the continuous, ongoing reality that it so often is. It's just a powerful reminder that for justice to really be just, it first has to truly understand the nature of the injustice it's trying to fix.